We are live. I am Karen Ray. This is Fave Lifestyles and the Fave Biz Society. Today we're going to be talking with Kimberly Chaney, and we are going to be talking about Pinterest. This is huge. So this is for the women entrepreneurs, just so you know that we're going to be talking about Pinterest and business and how to use that. And I have a million questions. And
Some days, so do I.
Yeah, so that's why it's called Ask the Expert, because ladies, you can ask your questions too. Kimberly will get back to you. This is a place to say, what's up with Pinterest? How do we use it? What's it for? Will it work for me? And all those kinds of good questions. So I am just going to just read your little bio real quickly. So you are a wife and a mother, a farmer.
Yeah, it's hobby farmer, but a farmer.
Okay, I don't think we've ever had anyone on here that does farming, so that's very cool. And a Pinterest strategist. You specialize in helping content-based businesses that are ready to take their website traffic, email lists, and leads pipelines up to the next level through organic Pinterest marketing. So I should have some glasses on so I can actually read the bio.
It's a bit of a mouthful too.
So we're going to be talking about harnessing Pinterest for your business. So Kimberly, tell us a little bit how you kind of got to this place of focusing on Pinterest.
Yeah, so I actually used to just be a general virtual assistant helping people with just about anything and everything. And I had a client of mine who was interested and had heard about Pinterest for business. And so I had done some research for them, didn't dive fully into it with them, but just kind of gave them some generic information. And then I ended up having to take almost a 2-year hiatus from my business. And when I came back, I knew I needed something. I had a new baby, well as 2 homeschool age kiddos. So I went up to 3 instead of just 1 homeschool and, 1 little. And I needed something that was a little less stuck to the 9-to-5 constraint that a lot of my general VA people wanted. And so I remember doing some research into Pinterest. And so while I was deciding what I wanted to do when I came back, I dove into it pretty much head first and just loved what I was finding out, loved the dual aspect of it's very data driven, but it's also super creative because it's those visuals that capture people first. Yeah. And that's what led me to really want to focus on it and offer it for people when I saw the benefits that it could bring to different types of businesses across the board.
Yes. So let's break some myths here too. So Pinterest, is it a search engine or is it a social media platform?
So most people lump it in with social media, but how I like to describe it, and Pinterest will describe itself this way as well a lot of times, is that it's a visual search engine with a social media aspect. Oh, cool. So it's kind of a dual purpose platform. Primarily it's like Pinterest, or it's like Google and Instagram had a baby. Like you go in and it's all the visuals that you're used to seeing on Instagram, but then it's got all the information that you can find on Google.
Excellent. Yeah, so let's kind of dive into our topic a little bit. And so who is Pinterest for? Let's talk about the type of, so we have a women's community, women entrepreneurs. How would this work for them?
So if you are targeting women as your primary audience, Pinterest is still prime. It's about 60% of all users are still women on Pinterest, although other demographics are growing yearly. It's still, they still find that we're the ones who are mainly on there searching for all the new projects and the information and the ideas. But as far as from a business standpoint goes, what you're really looking for is you need to have about 4 or 5 key things. You need to have your own website. Okay. So if you are in network marketing or anything like that, Pinterest may not be a good strategy for you unless you are blogging about what you're doing and you own your blog. Now you can do like Shopify stores count as something you own. It's anything that somebody else hosts and manages that you don't, it's not a good fit. So that website, you need to have some way of capturing emails when they come to your website. So something that entices them to sign up with you so that you can continue to get in front of them. Because we all know what they say, it's about 7 times in front of someone before they really start remembering you, right? And so if you get them on your email list, you can keep those cold, you can turn those cold leads warmer, right? Some sort of funnel or freebie is always a great way of doing that. And then also you need the capacity to handle the growth that it can bring for your business. So that's kind of a key thing. Some people don't consider that, but if you're wanting to grow, you need to have measures in place to handle that growth. And the last thing is you have to have the content. So Pinterest needs fresh. What content is the URL links need to be different, right? So we can't always link back to our main home page. That's a static URL, right? So we don't, if all of our pins are linking to just that, it's not considered fresh because it's the same page. Where that's where blog posts or product posts or, website, your product catalogs are fantastic. Podcast links are fantastic if each of your podcasts has a different URL. You can link to those, and that's all considered fresh content.
So if somebody has a blog, because I've seen different blogs and I know very little about this. So some blogs are just all, one right after another on the same page. So they would actually have to all be a different page to have that different URL.
It depends on how they're set up, because usually when you see that, that's like the index page. So 10 to 1, if you click on the blog, it actually will take you to a fresh static post page.
Okay.
So I know that's how my blog is set up. Like you go on to what's titled blog on my website, and it shows, I have it only showing like the first, I think 5 or 6 of my most recent blog posts. But some people have the entire list of blogs on there. But if you click on it to read more, usually that will take you to a new URL.
Okay, great. So can you give us a success story of somebody that you worked with and how this worked for them, to just kind of paint us a picture?
Yeah. So I have a couple in mind right off the bat. The first one is one that I'm currently working on that's actually new to Pinterest. It's a Christian women's online magazine, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's something new that they just launched. I think back in March is when I started working with them officially. And just since March, we're already seeing the increase on their statistics on Pinterest have gone up 1,000%, which seems like bananas, right? That's a huge number. But reality is went from like 30 people seeing their pins to like 300 people seeing their pins. And so it seems like small growth, but that's where it starts on Pinterest. And we actually started seeing those numbers jump up substantially just within the first 2 weeks of taking time to really look at their account, do a better keyword research for them on Pinterest, and then start using those keywords in different areas like their bio. We use them in their pin and their board descriptions as well. And that's what drives the numbers higher.
Okay, go ahead with the other one. These questions are all just jumping in my head.
Yeah, and then
such an interesting topic.
Yeah, and the other one was a product-based business, which very similar. Our growth is their growth has plateaued, but they're not doing some of the extra steps they need to really see the growth take root. We're just pinning products. They don't have an additional blog or anything like that. So it's a little bit harder to kind of measure the benefit. But same thing with them is like we just took the time to really dial into who's searching for what words they're using to search for those products and how we can get those in front of them. So we just look at the product and go, okay, if I was looking for this online, what are the multiple different ways I'm going to look for this product? I might not just say I'm looking for shampoo. I might not just look for shampoo. I might be looking for eco-friendly shampoo, or maybe I'm looking for cleansing shampoo or shampoo for curly hair. So, I mean, the list could just go on and on and on for just about everything out there. And that includes service-based businesses too. You got to really think of the different ways someone might be looking for the information you're providing.
Yeah, and that is tough. So do you help people figure out those words, those keywords?
I do. Yeah. It's a part of, if they're one of my monthly clients, I offer it as part of just our monthly package because we got to stay fresh. And, about every 3 to 6 months, I'll refresh the keyword research, or anytime we change kind of the focus, like maybe there's something new that they're wanting to focus on, we'll redo that research because it does change. It doesn't stay the same over the years. But it's also something offers like a one-time thing. If someone's just really struggling and they're not sure, I'll take a look at what they're doing, and I run a keyword research off of Pinterest itself because there's places that you can do it for SEO, so search engine optimization is a big thing too that you do for your website, but the keywords are different They might not be the same ones you use on your website that you're going to want to use on Pinterest, because how, everything has an algorithm, and everything tells the platform that you're on where to put your stuff, right? Where to rank it or who to show it to. And so it's going to be a little bit different on Pinterest than it would be if you're doing SEO research for your website. So you got to make sure that anything that you're doing on the platform itself.
Yes. So let's talk about some different types of businesses, because we have this big, wonderful community of women. We have life coaches. We have women in health and wellness, you're a nutritionist. Are those all great businesses to kind of start writing and having articles, or, is it your podcast, and also what can you have on there?
So honestly, there's very few businesses that wouldn't be able to benefit from Pinterest.
Okay.
Typically, if you're 100% local and you're just looking to drive traffic into like a brick and mortar store, Pinterest probably isn't a good strategy. However, you can still target locally if you have like a combination store, like e-commerce stores can do this, right? Maybe they have a brick and mortar and they have an online presence and they're looking to grow that online presence. You can still target locally by using your city. Like if you use your city in all of your descriptions, it helps Pinterest know, we want to show people in this regional demographic. So even those, as little nuances as that, but realistically, Pinterest is good for just about anybody, as long as you have what we call content, those fresh things to share. So a service-based provider, if they just have a static website that doesn't change, Pinterest isn't going to do real well for them because you have nothing new to share.
Right.
But if you have a blog component, which most service providers go to eventually, even if they don't start with one, eventually they usually go to blogging because they know that can drive traffic, right? Then sharing those blog posts to Pinterest can help you. Podcasters, the same thing. E-commerce stores. I have seen success with I can't think of a business that I haven't seen on Pinterest. If you can think of and search for it and you see others in your competitive field on Pinterest, 10 to 1, you can do the same thing. Okay. So that's also kind of one way I gauge, like when I'm doing an audit on and a strategy with a client, is I look at their content, but then I also look at Pinterest. Okay, what else can I find in this niche on Pinterest already? Is it a huge market? Is it a smaller market? Is there nothing on here at all? And that will tell me whether it's going to either be a good strategy or a slower building strategy or not a good strategy at all.
Okay, cool. So what are some other things that we should consider if we're, just thinking about, is Pinterest going to work for me, or any other key things that you think we should know about?
So one of the biggest things is to understand is that Pinterest is not a quick return. You got to plant that seed and you got to give it time to grow. It takes a while. So even though I've seen quick number rises with newer clients, it still takes time for Pinterest to really understand your niche audience and who you're targeting through your pins and your descriptions. And so about 3 to 6 months on average is what I recommend. If you're going to give Pinterest a shot, be prepared to give it 3 to 6 months to really start seeing it take hold. And after that is when you can start looking, okay, this is doing really well, but these aren't. So we're going to switch to doing more of this kind of content, right? And that's the biggest thing is you got to give it time. People get on there and they're so used to social media where your content lasts days, hours, minutes, even seconds, depending on what social media platform you're on, right? We all know how quickly those feeds change. Well, Pinterest is a little bit different. Your content lasts months to years, and realistically, it never goes away. So if you share it and it's on Pinterest, it's on Pinterest. It's not going to go away. If someone's searching for it and you did a really good job of crafting your description, using those keywords so Pinterest knows to show it to someone when they're looking for it. I've had clients who are, this particular client then it wasn't my client. It was another Pinterest manager's client. But they literally shut down their website from any new activity because it wasn't something they wanted to continue doing. They pivoted, but they're still getting traffic driven to their website years later after no new activity because they did such a good job building it up in the beginning that Pinterest is still recognizing, these are good pins to show for this audience. People like this. We're going to keep showing it.
Oh, that's interesting. So tell me, so when you go to Pinterest, I mean, Pinterest is a little bit of a mystery to me. And, I can go look and be like, you get your recipes and all that kind
Uh-huh.
of good stuff. But so what does it mean when you see you have, 300 views or whatever, or 3,000 views or 300,000 views? What does that actually mean?
Yeah, so there's a couple key what we call metrics that we like to look
Hmm.
at, and numbers realistically. So that first is like your impressions or your views, depending on who you're talking to. If you go into the business analytics, it's called impressions, but like on the main screen, I think it's called views.
Hmm.
That is how many times people have had your content come across their screen. So, if it's 3,000, your content has flashed across 3,000 people's screens, like over different searches.
And that's what Pinterest has done for you.
Is for
Or,
on the platform itself, yes.
right,
So that doesn't necessarily translate into website traffic. That's just on the
right.
Pinterest platform. That's what that number is. The next one so that's your impressions, and then you have they've recently changed it, and I know there's engagement, and there's another one I can't think of off the top of my. It's like if you look at the analytics, it's impressions, engagement, and then something else, and I can't think of what that. But engagement and that one are basically hand in hand, and that's how many times people have gone in and actively engaged with your pin. So not just that it showed up in the search, but they've clicked on it and looked at it.
Okay.
So something about the pin drew them in, like the visual image. They're like, oh, I need to know more about that pin. And they clicked on it to enlarge it. Then, which is the next step, and so those are those two numbers. And those are kind of vanity numbers. Like they feel really good when they start growing, but they don't translate into those sales that we want them to translate into necessarily in the beginning. Then you have your saves. So how many times someone saved your pin to come back to. They found it relevant enough to save onto their personal boards or their business boards, whatever the case may be. And then the most important one is your outbound clicks. And that's how many times someone has used your pin and clicked all the way through it to visit your website. And that's, of course, the slowest and the last number that you always see grow. But that's the most important one because that's the first few numbers are showing you that you're doing a good job with the analytics the algorithm. So Pinterest is really liking your stuff and they're starting to show it to more and more people. So that shows you that you're doing something well as far as Pinterest is concerned. Those saves and the outbound clicks is showing you that you're doing something good as far as your target audience is concerned.
Excellent. So how do you go check that? I mean, you go onto Pinterest. How do you go check those analytics? Can anybody do that?
If you have a Pinterest account and you have a business Pinterest account, so this is really important. If you're on Pinterest, a lot of people start out on Pinterest, they just have a personal account. You can't see any of this. It doesn't show you. But if you convert or start a new one, and depending on what your goal with Pinterest is, either one is fine. Once you have a business account, there's an analytics tab that you can click on, and it shows you all this, and you can get as detailed as seeing it daily, which I don't recommend. It'll drive you nuts. Monthly. Don't check it more than monthly, or the ups and downs daily you're gonna just go, what's going on? It's so inconsistent, but it's not. Look at it monthly or even quarterly. See how you're doing. But yeah, you can go in and you can check all these. You can check on individual pins. It gets really detailed in their analytics to where you can even see what your top boards are. So the content that people are finding most relevant, what your top pins are, and you can sort the pins by impressions or click-throughs. So maybe you're really in the beginning, we're focusing on getting that reach, right? You want to expand your reach on Pinterest so you're getting in front of the maximum amount of people possible. So those are the numbers you focus on in the beginning is what pins are doing well and people are seeing and Pinterest is loving. And then my audience is loving. Or maybe you've done that for 3 or 6 months and now you really want to dial in on getting more click-throughs. So then you start focusing on, okay, well, what pins are people really resonating with enough to click through onto my website?
Interesting, really interesting.
Yeah,
So
it's really in-depth.
it is. So ladies, if you have any questions, please put them on here. It's like, I mean, there's just so many different things, about descriptions. Do you write the descriptions? What are some of the other questions, just to kind of pop them off, that people tend to ask you about Pinterest?
We've covered a lot of the big ones. Is it a good fit for me? What's a good strategy? The other biggest one is how often do I need to be pinning? Right? This is a huge one, right? That's the other biggest one because we're all busy. Who has time to learn another platform and to keep up with another machine that wants content, right? I mean, I have a hard enough time keeping up with my social media, and then you add another platform on there. It can get a little mind-boggling. Well, I mean, ideally, you'll see anyone where people are like, oh, 5 to 10 pins a day is good. Other people are like 25 to 30 pins. Like there's an opinion for this out there for just about any number. But what I have found during doing my own research, relying on people who've been doing Pinterest since it became a platform, their research and their studies, as well as personal experience with my clients, even just one pin a day is ideally what you want to work up to. But starting out, pick a number and be consistent.
Yeah.
So
consistency, that thing.
Yeah.
Social media loves people who are consistent.
They do. And Pinterest is no different. Obviously, if you're pinning daily, and there are tips and tricks and ways to make this easier. So, people hear, I don't have to, I'm not putting out one blog post a day. That's crazy. We talk about fresh URLs. There are ways of taking one URL and turning it into 5 to 20 fresh pins. Oh. There are ways of doing it. It's in-depth and detailed, and there are tools that I would recommend using if you're going to seriously consider Pinterest and you don't want to hire someone out to do it yet. I would recommend, if you get to that place, hiring someone to handle it for you, because it can become it becomes tedious and overwhelming, and trying to stay up with any new trends and changes can be just, But in the beginning, I encourage people who are just starting, even if you can only do 1 pin a month or 2 pins a month, pick something and stick with it consistently for a few months, or increase it slowly as you're able. You're like, I do 1 blog post a month. I only have time to put out 1 pin for that blog post. That's what I'm going to stick with. But then later on down, you take some trainings, or you take some courses, or you find free content, because, you paid or free, you can find this content out there. It's just a matter of how much you want to wade through it and figure out what's current and what works. But you do some more research and go, okay, well, now I can go up to 2 or 3 pins for this 1 blog post because I figured out how to do it, or somebody taught me how to do it, right? Well, then I'm going to do 2 or 3 weeks of pinning, but stick with it, or increase it slowly. But ideally for my clients, I go up to 1 to 5 pins a day when we're running a full-on Pinterest strategy and we're really trying to push the numbers. We take some time we take a couple weeks to get up to that, but because Pinterest, like everything else, does have a spam filter. So start slowly. Don't try to do it all in one day.
Interesting. So many different things. So our online magazine, at the height of COVID, we were getting 700,000 views,
which is amazing. Yeah, that's a beautiful number.
That is a beautiful number, isn't it?
Pinterest loved whatever you were doing and was showing it to the maximum amount of people that it could.
Yeah. And it was driving traffic back to our website, definitely. So good stuff, really good stuff. So let's just, as we're kind of closing up here too, I had asked you a couple questions because it's just kind of nice to get to know you a little bit. So I had asked you, what does success mean to you? Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit, what does that mean for you?
Oh gosh, I don't remember what I told you, because depending on the day,
I'm going to read it. Yeah,
depending on the day, a little bit.
Some days it's just like the kids we survived today.
We got through the day. It was a success. Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to read it because it's. You had some really great answers to some of these questions. It says, success means being satisfied at a soul level with what you are doing. It doesn't mean there won't be days when it is stressful, or you're okay. I don't have glasses on again. Or you second guess yourself, but it does mean that those days are just a blip on the radar in comparison to the joy the rest of your days bring you. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Some of these answers I'm going to post because they're just so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
Yes. And
it's easier when you have time to think about it as opposed to on the spot. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. No worries. And I didn't really prep you and tell you that I was going to do this either. So, but I'm going to just, let's just pick one other one, because it's interesting to kind of get into the head of the woman entrepreneur, because we're doing all these things, but there's so much more to us. Yeah. You've got kids, you're balancing this life, you've got this business you're running, you have a household, and just to find that duality and to find the joy in all that you're doing. The other one that really just caught my eye here is, oh gosh, let's see. I am reading. So, well, let's just pick this one. In moments of doubt, what do you do? I take myself back to the basics. Why am I doing what I do? What do I know without a shadow of a doubt that I am bringing to the table? Keeping this in perspective helps me overcome my doubt.
Yeah, definitely.
Amen to that. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, just go back to the basics. Let's make it simple. And really, with your Pinterest too, just keeping it simple. This is my message. This is what people come to me for.
Yep.
And just, I mean, how would that just help you just really hone in on what the aspirations of those people, what problem are you solving? And what is it that they really, what value you're bringing and what transformation you're providing for those folks?
And don't make it difficult. Sometimes I do the same thing. I get in my head and I'm like, I've got to bring more value. I've got to no,
I know.
breathe and realize that sometimes the simple values are the most important values that you're bringing to the table.
Absolutely. So any parting words you would like to leave the ladies with?
If you haven't considered Pinterest, I would definitely recommend digging into it a little bit. I'm always available to chat. I promise that I'm not going to try to sell you on services, even if you just have some basic questions. If it leads to that, great, and you want more information on that, I'm always available. Don't get me wrong. It's my business. Yes. But at the same time, I also really value being able to educate and encourage others to try this platform because it can have such amazing results for businesses. And if you are at that stage also where you're not ready to hire someone out, but you kind of have but you think you're ready to start, I've got some great things for that as well. Whether it's just some free information, places I can point you to, or even I've got, upcoming boot camp that I've got going on for some people who are in that stage.
Yeah, so tell us about your boot camp.
Yeah. So what I've been finding as I'm trying, because realistically, I haven't been doing just focused on Pinterest for very long. It's been less than a year for me that I've focused strictly on this. I've done the research for over a year before I dove into it, but and I've worked with others who've done it much longer. But what I'm finding is there's a gap. We have all of this free information out there from other Pinterest managers or basic free courses that kind of, this is what you need to do. And they give you a laundry list and a workbook. I even have one, right? But there's people out there that they'll get a workbook, and I'm guilty. How many things have I signed up for that are still sitting on my computer that I haven't touched once I signed up for them, even though I know that they're important and I need to, and it's probably really good information. But I was finding that there was kind of a gap between that and the people who need someone to walk them through it, but aren't ready to pay for someone to do it for them. And so I came up with this boot camp where it's a small fee. It's under $100. And over the course of 3 weeks, I walk someone through starting, setting up. If they're already set up, we optimize. You learn how to do a keyword research. I teach you basically how to get your account set up, what consists of a good pin, what to look for, and starting on a Pinterest, a pinning schedule by the end of the 3 weeks to where you're ready to just kind of run and do your own thing and decide this is something I'm going to stick with. But it's, it's over 3 weeks. It's every Tuesday that during the course of the boot camp, there's a live training kind of like this interview where we just get on and I teach portions of it and there's some time for questions. And then every Friday in the private community I have for it, I do a live question and answer session because I don't want someone sitting on it till the following week if they just didn't get it. Okay. They really need help. And then of course, there's the Facebook community where questions can always be popped in and out and others can answer, share struggles, wins, I'll be in and out of it, And so that's kind of, I saw the gap and I wanted to fill it with something that, because I've been connecting with a lot of newer businesses or businesses that are only 1 to 3 years old that are still struggling, but recognize that Pinterest is a good strategy for them, but they're just not there where they can pay for someone to manage it for them. And they don't have the time to dig through all the knowledge to find out what's working and what they need to be doing, or they have the knowledge in front of them, but they can't digest it. It's too overwhelming. And so we really break it down into 3 weeks worth of steps and homework and kind of get people focused and ready to go. That's my goal. And then in the end, you're ready to run your own strategy, or you've got it set up ready to hand off to somebody else when you're at that point.
There you go. Wow. Wow, there's so much to know, and it's bringing up more and more questions as I'm sitting here talking with you. I'm getting in my head. I'm like, okay, isn't there maybe is there a platform that you can schedule all your things so you're not going in there every day?
There's that as well.
Okay. Yeah, if there's ways to make it easier.
Yeah, if you're interested or you've got questions like that, you want some more information, please, ask the questions. I've got tools and resources beyond myself of people who've been doing this way longer than I have. If you want, if you're looking for like, you want to learn how to do it yourself or do it for others, I've got people I can point you to, because it's really fun to get to do for others. It's not so much fun doing it for yourself because it feels like another task, right? Even when I do my own, like I'm just starting my Pinterest this month. I've been so busy doing other people, I'm not doing my own Pinterest. And so, but because it's been like, oh, that's another task I have to do. But when I'm doing it for other people, it's super fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So yeah. So we'll put all the information in the comments, and ladies can connect with you. And I think did you have? You can put your group in there too, and I think we have the link to the workshop and stuff as well.
Yeah. Right now, I only have a private group for those who are part of the boot camp.
Okay.
I haven't started. Eventually, I will, but it's a lot on the plate with the two kiddos and the baby, and so trying to manage a group and I want it to be, when I do start a group, I want it to be good and active and engaged, and I know I don't have the bandwidth for that right now. So, but
well, see,
answer questions.
Very nice how you have those borders around your business, and you know what? One of the characteristics of the women who come to Fave Lifestyles is that their families, they have these other things that are just so important to them too, and then running successful businesses. So, Kimberly, so good to have you here today with us and sharing all about Pinterest. And I'm going to go take a look at my Pinterest account and see what's up, and see what's happening over there. So
you might be surprised at some of those old pins that are still ranking really well.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, thanks for visiting with us today. And ladies, if you are ever interested in having your topic here at Fave Lifestyles, reach out. I am Karen Ray. My direct messages are always open. So, all right, Kim, thanks.
Thank you.